Today's video calls for a sous vide machine. I'm going to show you how to make juicy chicken using one of these guys. It's one of those set it and forget it kind of recipes, and it comes out perfect every single time. So with that said, let's get started. The first thing we need to do is prep out our chicken breasts, clean them up, and get them ready to cook. Next, grab some holding devices they call bags. I'll be using a reusable vacuum sealed bag and a couple zip top style. You want to use anything that can be fully sealed. If using a zip top style bag, ensure you only do one chicken breast per. This will help ensure each breast will cook evenly. Now that you've figured out your chicken holding apparatus situation, let's get to seasoning these things up. Open all your bags as wide as possible and toss the chicken in. It's best practice to have the bags open and ready to go before you start to handle the chicken. This will help ensure we won't be using dirty hands to open things, which could spread bacteria. Grab all your favorite herbs and spices. To each chicken, add a small drizzle of a neutral tasting oil. Move the protein around to coat it in the liquid fat. The oil will help prevent the chicken from sticking to the bag and will help the seasonings stick to the chicken as well. There are two ways of seasoning your chicken. You can add all the spices to the bag and shimmy, shake, and toss it around to completely coat it in the spices. I don't really like this method as much because the coarse ground kosher salt is kinda pointy and I felt like it was going to pierce the bag. The best way to do it is to make it rain seasoning on a plate or on a half sheet tray. The seasoning I went with was salt, pepper, granulated onion, and garlic. And I also made one with a spicy chicken rub. Chicken is pretty boring and bland, so don't be afraid to season them really well. You can also oil the chicken on the plate before you season it, after you've added all your favorite flavor enhancements and have the chicken back in the holding apparatus. Wash your ball catchers thoroughly. Grab your sous vide machine, also known as a immersion circulator, and a good sized vessel that can hold a large amount of H2O. You can use a big pot or a large plastic container for this job. Use whatever will allow the circulator to be submerged when the water is added. Once you've figured out what vessel you want to use, attach the device to the side of it. Fill the container with warm tap water. Using the warm water will slightly help speed up the process for it to come up to temp. You'll notice you may have a minimum and a maximum fill line on your water warming tool. I like to shoot to be somewhere in the middle of those two lines. Just keep in mind, once you add the product to the water, it's going to rise. There are a few more steps before we start cooking. We need to ensure we remove as much, or if possible, all of the air out of the bags of chicken. If you're using a zip top bag like I am, open it up and slowly submerge the bag into the water all the way until you hit the opening. Once you've reached that point, stop and zip it closed. Since water is heavier and denser than air, this will push all the air out of the bag. I think the technical term for this is called the water displacement method, but I'm not a computer engineer, so I'm not sure if that's correct. I only know it as the ghetto vac. It works well if you don't have a vacuum sealer. If you do have one, of course, use it. It doesn't matter what method you use, it's just imperative that you do it. Removing all of the air will help ensure the heat source, known as the water, will make contact with the chicken to give us a nice even cook. Having pockets of air will prevent things from cooking correctly. Next, we need to set the temp on the immersion circulator. Set it to 149 Fahrenheit or 65 degrees Celsius. Allow the water to come up to temp before you toss the chicken in. To speed up the process, cover the vessel with a lid to help keep in the heat. Once the water has come up to temp, toss the chicken bags in the water. You want to ensure the chicken breasts are fully submerged in the water. To help prevent them from moving around too much, you can clip the bags to the side of the holding apparatus, or you can also weigh it down with a heavy object. Cover your vessel with a lid if you have one. This will help prevent some of the water from evaporating and will help keep the heat in. Set a timer and cook the chicken for an hour and 30 minutes. This will fully cook the chicken and it will give us a super juicy and tender end product. What I've heard is you can leave the chicken cooking in the immersion circulator for up to 4 hours and still end up up with a juicy chicken. The only thing that will change is the texture. It becomes a little bit more chewy if you go longer than that, and we want something that kind of melts in your mouth. These things are basically a fancy crock pot in my opinion. I found that you want to use medium to large sized chicken breast when using this cooking method. One of the 3 pieces that I cooked was a smaller one compared to the other 2. It was still super juicy, but the texture was a little rubbery and chewy just because it had cooked for a long period of time. You may be thinking the temp is set too low to cook the chicken. That's if you are following what is recommended of cooking the chicken to 165 Fahrenheit or 73 degrees Celsius to be deemed as safe to eat. We all know food safety is measured in temperature, but it's also measured in how long it's been cooking at a specific temperature as well. Since we are cooking the chicken for a long period of time at a consistent high temp, this will kill any bacteria that may be present and will also fully cook the chicken, making it safe to consume. While you wait for it to cook, now would be a great time to start making any sauces or side dishes to go with it. Once the timer has gone off, turn the water warmer completely off and pull the chicken bags out of the water. Let the circulator completely air dry before you put it away. You can also give it an ever so lightly shake to get any water out that you can't see. Check out our cooked chicken. You can pop them out of the bag and eat them immediately if you wish. You'll notice they are pretty pale and ugly looking. We want to give them some color before we eat them. If you don't want to use them right away, place them in a ice bath for 20 to 30 minutes or until they're completely cooled down. Once cooled, toss them in the fridge box, then pull them out to eat when you feel like it. To achieve a nice golden brown color on your chicken breast, you need to lightly pat them dry with a paper towel. This will help pull off any excess moisture to allow us to get a nice sear on the meat. Grab your favorite saute pan or a cast iron pan and gently toss it over the heat source. Add enough neutral tasting oil with a high smoke point. It should be enough to completely coat the bottom, roughly a tablespoon or 2. Crank the heat to a medium high and allow the oil to become ripping hot. Once the oil has become super hot and spicy, lay the chicken breast into the pan. Lay it down away from your body. This way, if the hot oil splashes up, it won't get you. Sear the chicken on both sides until they become a nice golden brown color. Should only take a few minutes on each side. Don't overcrowd the pan. Doing so will cool the pan down, defeating the whole purpose of the ripping hot sear. You can also finish the chicken off on the grill if you wanted to. Once the chicken has been seared off, allow it to rest for a few minutes to let the juices reabsorb before you cut into it. Now that they've rested, let's cut into these bad boys. Grab the sharpest knife you own to cut them. You can cut these in whatever manner you choose to, like cubes, strips, or on the bias like I did. This is how juicy the chicken is. Yes, that is real life, not some CGI effects in the filming of this video. These came out insanely juicy and tender. This chicken would be perfect for a quesadilla, on a salad, made in a sandwich, or used for meal prep. Whatever you decide to do, just enjoy. Oh yeah, a little pro tip for you. If you are using a reusable vacuum sealed bag like I did, and it looks like this, don't worry, it's not stained or ruined. All you need to do is drop a small little drizzle of some dish soap in the bag. Following that, toss in a few paper towels with it. Lastly, pour a little water in the bag as well. Close it up and start to shimmy, shake, and jostle it around. The soapy, waterlogged paper towels will soak up the grease and also clean up the red stains. Toss the paper towels and thoroughly clean the bag with hot soapy water. In the end, it looks brand new again. Alright, now that our sous vide chicken is done, let's give it the old taste-a-roni. So looking at it, it came out nice and aesthetically pleasing. It looks super juicy and plump. And we got that nice little caramelization on the outside to add a little bit of color and some flavor as well. And the seasoning on it looks super tasty. Then we got the pieces that we did with the spicy seasoning. It's that nice bright red hue to it. It looks also super juicy and tender, and you squeeze on it, it bounces back, and it tears with ease because it's that juicy and tender. So let's give it a shot. This is the best chicken I've ever had in my entire eating career, aka my life. This chicken is insanely good. It's really hard to describe because that's how good it is, which sounds unbelievable, but just believe it because it's true. The texture on it is super soft and tender, and it just kind of melts in your mouth almost. And even though it's been hanging out on the cutting board cut open for like 20 minutes or so because I was trying to get pictures, it's still super juicy. And the flavor on it is also really good, which of course garlic powder and onion powder will make anything super tasty. And of course that salt is going to bring a ton of flavor, and the spicy one is probably the best one. But anyways, the stuff is the kitten's mittens or the bee's knees. It's just really good. This was a super simple one today. This is one of those things that you can set it and forget it and have really delicious tasting food when it's done. You can use the sous vide to throw a large party and cook a bunch of proteins at once and not have to stress about trying to put it in the oven or off the grill or whatever. Or you can use it to make some really simple meal prep, and you can even cook some eggs or some fish or some steak or even some vegetables in there. There's endless opportunities with this thing. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching, and I got a ton more experiments to try, so I'm gonna go do that, and we'll see you on the next one. On the outside, add some caramelization. Caramelization. Our piece of chicken, our piece. You don't know what you're doing, do you? No, I don't. Without the doubt. Without the doubt. Enough of that. This was a super simple one today. Super. Say it, don't spray it.